Shonen is my thing. I love the battles, the characters, the worlds. So to try out something new, I decided to dive into the wonderful world of Studio Ghibli, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised by it. So the first question which arises is, where do you start and which movie? When I think about it now, I don't think it really matters that much at all, because as soon as you start watching a Studio Ghibli movie, it becomes so clear why this studio is a favorite among anime fans all over the world. I personally started with My Neighbor Totoro since I recognized the character Totoro. Let's be real, I was surprised by the story, but what amazed me the most was the amount of detail put into every single frame. The animation was sublime. The world was so lively and colorful. It was so beautiful that I decided to make it my life's mission to watch all the Ghibli movies I could. So right after watching Totoro, I watched Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Same thing all over again. The world was so lively and it really piqued my interest. This time because the story was a lot darker than I expected it to be. Also, something that really spoke to me was the fact that the main character was a girl, which isn't something I'm used to, because in most shonen the main character is a boy. The narrative also puts you in a position to reflect on the real world. What would happen if our world leaders would use a weapon of mass destruction? And something equally as important to the story is the amount of respect our main character Nausicaa has for the nature around her. And that, to be honest, is something that most of us have lost. It tackles modern day problems, even though it's an old movie. Actually, this respect for nature is seen in other Ghibli movies, such as Arrietty. As well as it shows us the respect for nature, it also shows us how messed up we human beings can be, but also the kindness of our species. For a small person, something simple as getting sugar can be a grand adventure, and talking about grand adventures, Ghibli has those too. In this regard, the studio really stands out. Think about movies like Castle in the Sky, House Moving Castle, or maybe even Princess Mononoke. It really are adventure stories, but the studio also has some movies which take on less adventurous narratives. Think about Kiki's Delivery Service. It's a story about a witch who starts her own delivery service. How does she deliver to her customers? On her broom, of course. It's a simple story and I was surprised at how well it worked out. It's such a feel-good story that I actually felt better after watching. Another movie that made me feel better after watching was Ponyo. Aside from the story, I really enjoyed all the different transformations Ponyo goes through, from a goldfish to a girl, but also the fishes who turn into tsunamis. There are many more transformations in Ghibli films, like the transformations in Spirited Away, where the parents of our main character, Chihiro, turn into pigs after eating a lot of food. In this story there is a lot of mythology. I won't get into too much detail about this mythology, mainly because I don't have enough knowledge of the subject, but the mythology is definitely a returning subject throughout the franchise. Think about Princess Mononoke. The forest, the spirits and the constant feeling of wonder really keeps you watching with excitement through and through. But with that rises the question, do you need to know about Japanese folklore and mythology to enjoy these movies? And the simple answer to that question is no. If any, it makes you just a little bit more knowledgeable about Japanese culture and habits. The magic, the lore is intertwined in nearly every Ghibli movie, except for those which are not, of course. Like Up on Poppy Hill. The whole movie is in a realistic version of the world. The events that happen in this movie could happen in real life, even if it's very unlikely. It just makes you think that it's real. It are those real life elements that just makes you reflect on your own life. It wouldn't be possible without the amount of animals that are present in Studio Ghibli films, whether those are real life animals or made up creatures. But for the last portion of this video, I wanted to focus on my top 3 movies. Definitely let me know what your top 3 is in the comments down below. Starting with number 3, Arrietty. We covered this movie already, but man was it exciting to watch. What I like most about this movie was finding out what kind of objects the small people were using as their everyday objects. A simple pin could be used as a sword. Throughout the movies you can find all these little Easter eggs and it's real fun to check them out. When it comes to creativity, this movie is nothing short of amazing, and that's why it's number 3 on the list. Number 2 is Ponyo. To be honest, this movie just made me feel good. The story is such a grand adventure, the characters are so lovely. Most incredible of all are the transformations, as mentioned earlier. This movie surprised me big time, because the cover made it look worse. But after seeing it, I can easily say this movie is astonishing. Number 1, My Neighbor Totoro. This movie has it all. And yes, of course I'm talking about a cat boss. But all jokes aside, this movie is so good. It's so interesting to see these creatures make 2 girls happy. It's a real feel-good story and I would recommend it to literally everybody, young and old. I wanted to thank you all for watching this video. It has been such a blast to make and I hope you guys enjoyed it until the very end. For now, Dander out.